Across the history of the galaxy far, far away, the all-terrain armored transport has stood as one of the most iconic and terrifying war machines ever deployed by the Galactic Empire and later by the First Order. These towering four-legged walkers weren't just built for battle, they were designed to dominate the battlefield both physically and psychologically. Over time, the engineers kept evolving the platform, transforming it from a frontline assault transport into specialized machines built for all kinds of requirements on the battlefield. Some versions focus on carrying troops through blaster fire, others sacrificed transport space for superweapons, and a few became even larger, more heavily armored monsters meant to shatter enemy morale before even firing a single shot. In this video, we are diving into the evolution of these unstoppable metal giants, the AT-ATs, how they changed, why were they modified, and what made each version a unique piece of galactic warfare history. Let's get to it. We begin with the AT-AT prototype. This was an early version of the Empire's famous four-legged walkers. It was designed and built by the Aquatic drive yards for the Galactic Empire during the early Imperial era. It was created after the Clone Wars as a stronger replacement for the older all-terrain tactical enforcer walkers. The Empire wanted something taller, scarier, and better at crushing enemy forces, so the AT-AT/P of the prototype was designed with four very long legs that lifted its narrow body high off the ground, letting it step over rivers and obstacles with ease. The prototype was bigger than the later standard all-terrain armored transport used during the Galactic Civil War, standing over 26 meters tall. The prototype was heavily armed, carrying two heavy laser cannon turrets, four anti-personnel blasters, and a rear dorsal twin laser turret for extra firepower. It usually had two pilots in the cockpit and could carry dozens of troops, but even though it was powerful, its long legs could be a weakness since enemies could trip it with cables or magnetic harpoons and attack its exposed neck. Now, the standard AT-AT was the main heavy walker used by the Galactic Empire during the Galactic Civil War, and it replaced the earlier AT-AT prototype. This was the one that was seen in the Battle of Hoth in The Empire Strikes Back. Standing over 22 meters tall, it was slightly smaller than the prototype but more refined and reliable in battle. It carried two heavy laser cannons on its chin and medium blasters on the sides of its head, strong enough to blast through fortified bases like during the famous Battle of Hoth. Inside, it could transport up to 40 stormtroopers plus gear and even carry speeder bikes in the rear vehicle bay. Its thick armor could shrug off most normal blaster fire, though its neck and underbelly were weak spots. Compared to the larger prototype, the standard AT-AT was slightly smaller but more balanced and better suited for mass production, making it the Empire's go-to heavy assault walker. Now, the Dune Walker was made for a card game. It was a special desert version or variant of the standard AT-AT and was a bit shorter at 15.5 meters. It was built for hot, harsh planets where the normal AT-ATs could overheat during long missions. To handle the extreme heat, the Empire removed some of its extra weapons and replaced them with the powerful Sienna Z-23 heat dissipation units, which helped keep the Walker cool during long marches across desert terrain. This made the Dune Walker less focused on extra firepower but much better at surviving and operating in scorching climates. Like other AT-AT variants, it showed how the Empire modified its war machines to fit different environments and planets. There were also other slightly modified variants like the Snow Walker, which was actually the one seen in Hoth, and the Vacuum Walkers that could fight in the airless environment of outer space while being magnetically attached to stations or large starships. Then next we come to the heavy all-terrain armored transport. This variant of the AT-ATs was a more armored version of the standard walkers and shared almost all the same traits with it, including its 22.5 meter height. It was seen in the Star Wars Commander game, the strategy game. The main difference is of course it weighed a little bit more heavier due to its added armor plating and that it looked distinct with its blue markings on the side and head. Otherwise, it's still the same beast but with a more durable body and also added firepower. Now next, the Shadow AT-AT. This was also seen in Star Wars Commander. The Shadow AT-AT was a special black armored version of the all-terrain armored transport used during the Galactic Civil War. It was built by the Quad drive yards, and this walker wasn't made for stealth like its dark color might suggest. Instead, it was designed purely to intimidate enemies on the battlefield. It is covered in gleaming black armor, and it stood about 15.5 meters tall like the Dune Walker. which was shorter but still looked even more menacing than the standard version. It carried blasters and laser cannons in its head and could still transport up to 40 stormtroopers into combat, but in a more tightly crammed up space. Now, the elite AT-AT was a heavily upgraded version of the all-terrain armored transport and was crewed by some of the Empire's very best pilots. Manufactured by the quad drive yards, this variant had thick black armor and stronger laser cannons than the standard AT-AT models, giving it better firepower and defense on the same size chassis as the standard ones, being 22 meters tall. One of the most unique features was the built-in saws on its legs, which made it much harder for enemies to trip it using magnetic harpoon cables like the rebels did at Hoth. Its viewport also even glowed red, adding to its intimidating look. However, while it was tough in many ways, it was still vulnerable to ion explosives. Another evolution of the AT-AT is more drastic, and this comes in the form of the aquatic terrain armored transport, or the swimmer. So this one was a sea-based version that was built for deep ocean missions and underwater bases. It was developed through heavy modifications of the normal AT-AT design, its chassis. It was first experimented on by an Imperial garrison on Kabira, and later produced in a joint project between Quad Drive Yards and Hydrosphere Corporation. Unlike the Land Walker, the AT-AT Swimmer had a broad body to fit 4 extra repulsor lift engines that kept it afloat and even stable underwater. Its shell-like armor was specially reinforced to handle crushing ocean pressures, also to withstand salt corrosion and enemy fire. It could carry up to 40 troops and about 600 kilograms of cargo to support aquatic assault stormtroopers and TIE fighter boats during sea operations. This version here or variant was seen in the role-playing game called Death Hunter. Now, another one is called the All-Terrain Ion Cannon, or the AT-IC, which was a rare and powerful variant that, instead of focusing on troop transport like the normal AT-ATs, the AT-IC was converted into a mobile ion cannon platform. The ion cannons need huge amounts of power and are usually placed in fixed bases or large ships, so putting one on a ground walker was unusual. To make room for this massive ion cannon, about half of the walker's internal space was redesigned to support the weapon and its energy systems. Because of this, it was less about carrying soldiers and more about defending important Imperial locations from enemy ships and vehicles by disabling them with ion blasts. And we can see this ion cannon being fitted on a body facing backwards instead of facing forwards like frontline assault vehicles. Then evolving further, we now come to the all-terrain armored heavy transport, which was an upgraded evolution of the classic AT-AT, and this was used by Darth Crate's Galactic Empire, and it was also seen in a role-playing game called Wizards of the Coast. It improved on the older AT-AT design with stronger armor around the head and main body, making it look tougher in direct combat. It also added extra guns mounted on the passenger section above and to each of the sides of the cockpit, giving it a better firing coverage compared to the standard model. It was black in color like the Shadow, but it was bigger than the standard AT-ATs, likely being over 25 meters tall due to its humpback design that added extra space for 60 troops instead of the 40 of the standard ones. Now, the all-terrain armored cargo transport was a bigger, industrial version of the AT-AT used by the Galactic Empire, and this was seen first in Rogue One. Unlike the regular AT-AT, which was built mainly for combat and troop transport, the AT-ACT, or the cargo transport, was designed to haul heavy cargo like building materials and munitions at huge Imperial construction sites. It had a large magnetically sealed cargo bay or bed built into its body that could hold around 550 cubic meters of material, with stevedore droids organizing the loads. Because it had such huge cargo, it used an electromagnetic tensor field to strengthen its knee joints and to keep its legs stable while walking. At almost 32 meters tall, it was bigger than a normal AT-AT, way bigger, which gave it a slightly faster stride, but that also made it less stable. However, it was still armed against infantry, and then its most noticeable feature is a yellow-brown added armor plating on its side, and also that it was way taller than the rest. Now, after the demise of the Galactic Empire, the AT-ATs that were still there were still used by the New Republic. However, when the First Order came, a new variant also was developed. This was seen in Episode 8, The Last Jedi. At 22 meters tall, the first order AT-AT was a modernized version of the classic Walker. It was now built by the Kuat Entrada drive yards and was only half a meter shorter. Its design was inspired by the old Imperial Walkers from the Galactic Civil War, but it featured stronger armor and some key changes. Instead of the traditional chin-mounted heavy laser cannons, this version had a broad ram under its chin for deploying troops, and while its main cannons were mounted on the sides of the head. But overall, the first order AT-AT kept the intimidating look of the original but was updated with heavier protection and improved troop deployment. With the new AT-ATs of the first order also came a variant, which is called the All-Terrain Mobile Artillery. This was a four-legged defense walker used by the first order to guard Starkiller Base. It looked similar in size and firepower to the old Imperial all-terrain armored transport, and also somehow similar in design, but it wasn't built to carry troops or lead assaults. Instead, the AT-MA was stripped of all its troop transport facilities and was designed mainly for base defense, which it acted like a giant walking artillery cannon to protect important installations like Starkiller Base, of course. Several of these walkers were stationed around the base, and at least 3 were seen during General Armitage Hux's speech before destroying the Hosnian system. Some were even said to be stored aboard a Resurgent-class Star Destroyer to be deployed off-world. And the final evolution is the All-Terrain Mega Caliber 6. This was seen in Episode 8 The Last Jedi. The All-Terrain Mega Caliber 6, or the AT-M6, and also known as the Guerrilla Walker, was the largest and most powerful AT-AT walker seen in Star Wars. It is much bigger than the old Imperial all-terrain armored transports and even bigger than a cargo transport. The AT-M6 was mainly built as a walking siege engine. Its most important feature was the huge Mega Caliber 6 turbo laser cannon mounted on its humpback design. This was a weapon strong enough to blast through shields designed to resist planetary bombardment. To handle the weight of this massive gun, engineers reinforced its front legs and added extra floors on its body, which gave it its hunched, gorilla-like stance and extra stability. The Walker also had ultra-dense composite armor, a fusion reactor for power, and extra fuel cells to recharge its main cannon faster. Besides the giant back cannon, it also carried heavy laser cannons on the front and medium cannons near the head, plus serrated cable cutters on its leg to stop enemies from tripping it. It was loud, towering, and terrifying. The AT-M6 was designed not just to destroy enemy bases but also to scare entire armies before it even fired a shot. And with this, we come to the end of the video on the evolution of the AT-AT walkers in Star Wars. Now with that, we come to the end. Do hit the like button for support, and also for the ones holding their phones in their hands, well, by now you know the drill. Click the hype option to hype up the video to other viewers. Also, don't forget to subscribe to be a part of Legion Nutbug. And so till the next time, take care, boys.